Today, I'm going to show you how to do this warm autumn painting. All right, so these are the tools we're going to be using today. We have our 2-inch brush, 1-inch brush, the fan brush. This is the larger of the fan brushes. This is the number 6 one. And then we have the palette knife. This is a smaller one. I just preferred using the smaller one, but you can use whichever one you like. All right, and then for our paints, you can see all very fall colors here. So we have, and what I like to do is I like to arrange them in the order of when I'm using them, basically. So I have like the sky colors up here and foliage colors down here and so forth. So we've got our Indian yellow, our yellow ochre, got bright red, a little bit of phthalo blue, just a little bit. And then I have some VanDyke brown, some Sienna. I just used up my Sienna there. That was the end of the canister. And then some sap green and Alizarin crimson. We're actually going to use, we're going to use those two colors to make a brown. It's called Christmas brown, as Bob would always call it. So the sap green and the Alizarin crimson together. And then we have yellow, so that'll be for highlights and everything. And then we have our titanium white. We don't need a whole lot of that today, basically just for the mountain. And then I have a little bit of liquid white here. That's just for like, if we decide to put water in or whatever. So that's it for the colors there. All right, so I have a 16 by 20 canvas there, and it's already covered with gesso and dried and everything, white gesso for this one. So because it's a white canvas, we're going to cover it with the liquid white. So I've got my 2-inch brush here. I like to wipe it off on a paper towel just to make sure nothing's in there. Sometimes you might get some remnants from the last painting, so. All right, and then I've got my canister here of liquid white. So I'm just gonna dip in like, just a little bit. And I'm just gonna start with that. If I need more, I can dip more, but the key is you want this to be as thin as possible. So if you have this as thin as possible, that's gonna help you with your mountains. A lot of people have trouble with highlighting the mountains, so it starts here. It starts with your liquid white. If you have too much liquid white on, it's harder to put more layers on with your mountains. So just get this layer as thin as you possibly can. So what I'm gonna do here is I'm just gonna kind of daub it on. Definitely gonna need more there. There we go. Now this is the messiest part, so get ready. And then I go in crisscross. So I dib daub like that just to get a nice even coat. Then crisscross it in. Or you can do like this method as well. I do that with liquid clear, so I really grind it in. So either way. And then just to make sure everything is covered, I go back and forth like horizontal, vertical. We have a little hair there, so you get a hair, just pop it out with the corner of your brush there. And I'm going to wipe off my brush. And to clean your brush, you just want to do this. Just use a paper towel and just wipe it real good. You don't want to use paint thinner until you're all done. Not with the big brushes anyway. Little brushes you can, but big brushes, wouldn't recommend. And then for cleaning your hands, baby wipes are perfect. You can use them to clean your palette at the end too. All right, so to make sure I have an even coat everywhere, I'm just gonna like touch in different spots with different fingers. So I'm gonna go boop, 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 boop. There you go. So you want to still be able to see your fingerprints there. If you can't see your fingerprints and they're all covered up with white, then you got too much. If you do have too much, not a biggie. You can just take a paper towel, lay it across like that, and just kind of like crisscross, and that wipes it off. And I'm going to go back in and just wipe the whole thing. We've got a couple more hairs there. Just to wipe off my fingerprints there. All right, so it is ready to go. going to put my liquid white aside for right now. You won't need that for a while. So I'm going to go into my sky colors here. So I'm going to start with my Indian yellow. Nice kind of almost orangey yellow. So I'm kind of tapping it in because you don't need a whole lot because it's going to blend into the liquid white that's already there, making it a lot easier. It's going to fall in there. There we go. And so I'm tapping it so you get a nice even distribution. So you don't want any clumps there, just like that. And then with like a little crisscross motion, I'm just going to start just kind of right there. Ooh, that's nice and bright. I love that. I'm going to put some in the bottom too. So I'm kind of imagining like my horizon line kind of a little like middle, little south of middle. So I'm just kind of crisscrossing that yellow in. I'm going to go all the way across. But yeah, I'm imagining I'm going to have some water down here. So now I'm going to wipe off my brush there. And it doesn't have to be like a perfect rising sunset or anything. If you want it to be, you can, but totally up to you. So just wiping the excess of that color off. And then I'm going to go into the yellow ochre. And that's the one right next door. So I'm just going to take a little bit from the corner there. Try to turn to the side so you can kind of see there. There we go. All right, and same thing. We're just going to kind of crisscross that in. A little in the water too. Don't forget the water. That same crisscross motion. You see how when I'm crisscrossing the color with the white there, it's already blending in because that white's already there. Okay, got a little hair there, poke it, wipe that off. Next, I'm going to go into some bright red. So that'll be interesting. Be nice and bright. I feel a sneeze coming on, so I'll warn you ahead of time. Now that I've said it, it probably won't happen. All right. So we got our bright red there. I put a whole bunch on, but that's okay. Bright red is really strong, so you only need a little bit. I love combining bright red with yellow ochre. That's such a nice color. We'll use that for some of the highlights and stuff too. All right, now because this is such a strong color, I'm gonna put this in with a very light touch and then we'll just blend out what we got in there. So see how I'm crisscrossing and I'm not even touching yet? So, oh, there we go. There it is. Come down a little bit. Come down here. Okay, I think I'm going to wipe that off. And then I'm going to go back in and blend that together. So same thing, just a little crisscross, little crisscrosses. Now we got like a orange sherbet kind of color there. You know what? I'm going to go all the way. Let's go all the way to the top there. We're going to put a little bit of purple on the ends. Just kind of make it a little darker on the ends. It's a fun little trick with the sky and the water. Make the ends or the corners darker. That way it draws the viewer's eye towards the center. I'm going to wipe that off. You see how it's all nice and sherbet-y. Because as you're blending, you're going to pick up some of that white too, some of that liquid white. Okay, same thing down here. Should be getting a hand workout doing this. Wipe that off again. And then, like I said, we're going to put in a little bit of purple. First, I see a little hair. Boop. There we go. It's going to blend that out a little bit where I knocked out that. I got more hairs. Oh, no. More hairs. Okay. Better. Oh, going back in. A little more. Okay. That's good there. It's going to wipe this off really good. All right, so I'm going to, so I like to use the bigger knife to mix and the smaller knife to actually paint, so that's just preference. So I'm going to mix some of the blue into the red here. Just take a little bit of that, a little bit of that. Ooh, flopped it. Ooh, boy, it's strong. So strong. I only took a little bit of blue too. So I definitely want this purple to be more on the red side to go with everything that's already going on up there. That's perfect right there. It's similar to Alizarin Crimson. A little more brownish, maybe. All right. That's good there. I'm just going to wipe off my knife there. All right, so go back in with the 2-inch brush. It's going to wipe it off one more time there. And same thing, just going to tap that color in. And a little more. Okay, that should be good. So again, I'm gonna kind of start with the corners and then go across the top. So same crisscross motion there. Okay, yeah, that's pretty good. I'll just blend it down from there. Yeah, there we go. There we go. Some of that coming down. Kiss the yellow. Nice. So, I'm good with the sky. Now with the water, I'm going to do something a little different. So I'm going to wipe off the brush. I'm going to load it the same. Just tap in a little bit there. But since it's water, I'm going to apply this a little different. I'm going to start from the outside edge and pull in. And I'm going to try to leave like a little sheen in the middle. So, and I'm holding my brush horizontally like that. So I'm going to release, 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 release. Remember I said I was kind of imagining my horizon line like, about there. And I'm going to do the exact same thing on the other side. Let's see how I'm leaving it. I'm releasing it in the middle there. Wipe that off because again, you're picking up what's underneath as you're doing that. So I'm going to tap. Tap some more in. And we're going to do the same thing from the other side. We're going to go pew, 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 pew. And I am lightening my pressure as I'm going upwards like that. So I'm going to wipe off my brush there. Looks a little funky right now. We're going to go in and blend it a little bit, but just very lightly. So now I'm going to go in with the brush all cleaned off, and we're just going to very lightly go back and forth. So now I'm holding it vertically. It's a couple little striations here, so I'm going to go back in with a little more pressure, get rid of those striations. There we go. Keep some of them though. That's the cool thing about oil paint. Make any mistakes, yeah, you can pretty much blend them away. I think I'm going to get a little darker on the bottom. It's always better to start off with a little bit of color, and if you want it darker, you can always go back and add more. Okay, I think that's good there. I like that color a lot. It's fun when you're doing these paintings and you find these colors and kind of leads you to your next painting. Like, ooh, what if I do this? What if I do that? Okay, so we've got our sky, we've got our water. Just wiping this off real good. Alrighty. Now we're going to put our mountain in. So for that, I think I kind of want somewhat of a brownish mountain. So maybe, oh, I don't know. Let's mix a little bit of maybe the leftovers of this. Some VanDyke brown, some Sienna, something like that. I think that's good. Doesn't have to be super mixed or anything. Okay, so I'm flattening out this paint there, and then I'm going to hold the knife perpendicular, and I'm going to cut across like that. So when you cut across, that's when you get your little roll of paint. There it is. That's about a fettuccine size. Yes, we measure in food. All right, so when I do my mountains, I kind of come from the bottom and kind of jiggle up. So I'll show you what I mean here. So just kind of make it like more natural there. And as we're making it, we're kind of scraping it away at the same time, because you just want to stain the canvas. Again, you want these layers to be very, very thin, because that's going to make it easier when you're putting your highlights in. This is a little small right now. We're going to make them bigger. But again, easier to start out small and make bigger than the other way around. That's a little harder. You can reshape your mountains. Let's scrape off a little more. See how I'm kind of like wiping off the excess. So I'm like scraping, wiping off excess, scraping, wiping off excess. And again, kind of imagining that my horizon line's about there. So I'm kind of, you see I'm kind of stopping right before that. the sounds do help. It's true. Bob knew. And the cool thing is, like, whatever color you put here when your sky, it kind of blends in with the mountain. And it'll also, if you don't take your mountain base all the way down, you'll have this little glow of this color underneath. So when we're going to put like little bushes down here at the base of the mountain, or distant trees or whatever. And you're going to have that glow come through the trees there. Just a little more bumpy, little bumpiness there. Okay, I think that's pretty good, because then we're going to go in with a brush and we're going to drag out some of that paint there. So I'm just wiping off my knife with the paper towel. And I'm going to go back in. I'm going to use the 2-inch brush because it's already dirty. Just wipe that off. And so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go in and I'm going to like just kind of spread that color there. But as I do this, notice how I'm angling like this, because I don't want to mess up the crispy edges. So I don't want to go up all the way to the edge. I want to leave the edges alone. And just swipe. You're just taking the innards and spreading them. Again, this is making it thin again. This is just helping with the next step, is applying the highlights and shadows. And like Bob would say, when you're doing this, it kind of gives you a preview too of where your mountain crests are going to go and everything. So you can kind of pre-plan as you're doing that. So it's like, yeah, that looks like a nice little crest right there. I'm not sure about this one yet. Maybe that way. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. So I'm going to wipe that off. And I'm going to go in one more time with my cleaned off brush. And I'm just gonna crisscross. Just gonna crisscross the bottom of the mountain there. Just blending it in. That's all. I didn't get it around the canvas there. Gotta watch out for the end of the canvas there. Okay, it's a nice little mountain base there. So now we gotta think, if you want absolutely just plain white for your highlight, you can do that. I think I'm not gonna have completely white. I think I'm gonna have it a little dirty. So I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna take some of this white and a little bit of that brown, just a tiny bit. There we go. Ooh, yeah. Got some of that red in there. Sometimes Bob would do that. He would put a little bit of bright red, a tiny bit of bright red into his white for clouds or mountain highlights. That's good. And you don't have to overmix it or anything. I think that's good. Just not bright white or anything. And some of this highlight color will mix in with the base color too. So you want to do the same thing as before, just flatten it out there, wipe off my knife, and just cut across like that, and you get your little roll of paint. There it is. So it's a little smaller than fettuccine, like I guess like spaghetti size, cooked spaghetti. And for highlights, I guess since I'm right-handed, it's easier for me to like kind of work from the right to the left. So what I do, so you see how the knife is kind of shaped like a mountain, just kind of line up there. Now what you want to do, you see how I'm kind of bracing my hand here. I have a very shaky hand. But once the paint grabs onto the canvas, then you're good. All you have to do is guide it. So like Bob says, no pressure, absolutely no pressure. I know that makes no sense, but when you're doing it, you'll understand. When you're pushing the paint in, you don't get it to crack like it does You want to just smooth it over like frosting. Yeah, like frosting. Like frosting a cupcake, exactly. So I'm going to line it up and see how my hand's shaking, and then boop, it grabbed. And I'm just guiding it. So see how I'm only using like a couple fingers there. A couple hands, but a couple fingers. And see, I missed a little spot there. Just go back in. Like that. Got a little weirdness with the edge of the canvas, but we'll fix that. We're gonna have some trees there anyway, so it's not a biggie. So I'm going back in, another roll of paint, and I'm just gonna do it one more time. Just to do a little bit more there. Let's get a little more on the edge. There we go. Grab another roll. Oh, that one wasn't very even. So you want it to be pretty even. So I'm gonna do, this is the big one. I got a little one there, but then this is the big one. But see how I'm kind of swinging it around and having that back end follow the mountain there. Yeah, I want that one in front. We'll keep that one in front. I'm gonna go back up. And I'm gonna make a little whoop, a little whoopie-doo there. But see how it's kind of mixing in with the brown on the base color? See, that's cool. We're getting this kind of like warm highlight. Ooh, look at that. Ooh, that was a happy accident. I don't know where that brown came from. It looked like yellow ochre. I guess it's just from the background there. But that's cool. It looks kind of golden-y. Which makes sense because you have like the sunrise there. Sunrise, sunset, I don't know which it is actually. So these ones, I think I want this in front of these guys. So since not much of that is going to be showing, I'm going to use the small part of my knife there. So I'm just gonna grab just a little bit, just with the very, very smallest part of the knife right there. And just gonna touch. See how the first time I did it, nothing came off? That's how light I'm doing it. Just like that. Same thing over here. A little more over here. A little more it's going to show. Let's go back to the long part. A little more. See, I was running out of paint there. That's all right. All right, that's good for the highlight. We're gonna go in and do the shadow. So what Bob likes to do, he likes to put a little bit of blue into his shadow. I might put a little bit of blue, and red maybe. Let's see what happens here. A little bit of that purpley color. Let's see what we get. Ooh, that's fun. This is a good color combination for like Southwestern paintings too. I'll have to do a Southwestern one. I don't think I've done a tutorial for that yet. So same thing, you're just gonna flatten out the color and cut across. Now with the shadow, we're on the other side. So I loaded the same side of the knife as I did with the highlights, but I'm going to do it a little differently. So I'm going to go up to the crest here, and I'm just going to kind of grab and pull. And I'm going to swing it and kind of like blend it into the highlight there. There we go. So reload. So you'll see certain spots that just don't want to take any paint. They're like, nope. I'm like, okay. All right, if that's what you say. I'll swing it around here and kind of make it meet up. Meet up with the highlight on the other side there. You'll need a bit more down here. Okay, that's good there. So I'm going under a little bit, but that's okay. We can always blend it out if we want to. So for these areas, since they're a little smaller, again, I'm going to go in with the small part of the knife. So I'm just going to grab from the middle of the crest and just drag it on over. And you can see, especially on this one, it's kind of like a little bit like fuzzy up there, and that's good. You want that. It makes it look more natural. Take a little bit of that, put it over here. There. Yeah, purple and brown look pretty cool. And yeah, when you're doing these mountain highlights, it's always better to use less highlight than more. You can always go back and reload, but if you start out with too much, then you're gonna like cake it on, literally. Remember, you want to frosting it on, not cake it on. But I am like barely touching this. And you can see how the knife is like almost flat against the surface there. Oop, I made a little whoopsie doodle, there we go. Grab a little bit more. Okay, now we just have this one left, and I can either, I can use the longer part of the knife for this one. Reload. A little bit more. A little more. But again, better to go little by little than to put too much on at one time. That's harder to correct. And again, take your time, you know. You don't have to go as fast as me. You definitely don't have to go as fast as Bob. When I was first learning this method, I just started by watching Bob videos and painting with him. But yeah, definitely not at the same time as him. So yeah, I'd watch him do something and then pause, go back, pause, go back. Like, Bob, what'd you do there? Bob, I still do that. Bob, what'd you do? I missed it. Oh, jeez. I missed it again. All right. I think that's pretty good for our mountain. So I'm gonna wipe off the knife there. And like I was saying before, if you have like any overage or anything, you can just come in with the corner of the brush and just tap very gently just to kind of blend any parts out that you need blending. Like this little edge of that canvas, yeah, that's always a fun spot there. Just make sure to go in the same direction that the mountain is going. Okay, I think that's pretty good there. Now, I think I am going to make more of that reddish, bluish, purpley color. Maybe throw in a little yellow ochre. Let's see what happens here. Make a little brown. I just want to make a brownish color, but not too dark, not too dark. We want to save the darkest base color for the closest things to us. That's good. And I was talking before about our Christmas brown, the green and the red. Make some of that for you. As well as that to play with too. Just a different browns, some different colors. Again, you can have this more to the green side, more to the brown side. Green's kind of cool, I don't know. Maybe a little more red. And mixing, I'm just picking it up, flipping over. So you can see, yeah, totally different brown. Totally different type of brown there. So yeah, now we got a couple different things. A little bit darker though. All right, just gonna wipe off that knife there. And then we can either use the 2-inch brush or the 1-inch brush. I'll use the 1-inch just because it's easier. And so this is like some distant foliage here. All right. So I'm just going to use the corner, the bottom corner of my 1-inch brush. So see how I'm angling the handle towards the ground there? That means I'm just using the corner. So I'm just going to tap that corner into that red, blue, and ochre mix that I made. Just like that. And just gonna make some bushes and stuff. So I'm kind of starting from like the base of the bush or tree and kind of working my way up. I'm gonna use some of that other brown just to kind of like mix it up a little bit. Ooh, look at that. We just make them like varying sizes there. I'm just brush mixing between the two browns there. And see, like these are super distant, so I'm gonna make a little darker. So I'm gonna pretend like our water's coming from this way. So since that's the case, since we do have water, let's put a little bit of reflection in. So I'm just tapping that same color, just kind of mirroring what's up here for reflections there. A little too much brown there, so I knocked some of that out. Get a little darker on the end here. So we're gonna have a little bigger tree over here. This tree's growing a bit there. And I'll reflect that in the water. Let's go a little bit darker for this big old tree here. But again, even with the trees as opposed to the bushes, I'm starting at the base and kind of working my way out. Now you might have some mountain to go through. That's okay. Just use more paint. It's all right. It's all right. Okay, I think that's pretty good. Maybe a tad darker. Just a tad. There we go. Just so that when we put highlights on, they'll stand out a little bit more because it's going to be a little closer to us there. Okay. So you see how I kind of did everything, like it kind of looks like a wedge because it's going to be an angle. So the water's going to be like skinnier over here and it's going to be wider here. So it's going to look like it's kind of coming from there. So I'm going to wipe off my brush there. And then I'm going to put in some branches and things. A couple of ways you can put in branches. You can either use your knife or you can use a script liner. Put my script liner away. Here we go. I'll show you how with a knife first. So with a knife, you can just kind of scrape out. Like, I like to use the knife on its side. You get a bigger sticks that way. So you can do the same thing here, or you can use script liner. I'll show you how to do it with the script liner here, like that. Or if you don't have a script liner, the thinnest thing you got. Or you can also put in trunks and branches with a knife. That looks really cool too. It's just a little more angular, of course, not as curvy. So for that, I'm going to use a little bit of yellow ochre. I'm just going to flavor this liquid white here. Put a little brown in there. And then when I'm loading it, I'm kind of twisting it like that so that it comes to a point. And then we're just going to start kind of at the bottom and just kind of trail up there. And this is when my shaky hand actually comes into play and helps. It makes things look nice and shaky and natural. As Bob would say, it pays you great dividends. It's my favorite Bobisms. Pay you great dividends. Put a little more liquid white over here. That's good. And for reflection, I'm not gonna like worry too much. I'll just kind of hint at a couple sticks and twigs or whatever. It doesn't have to be exact because it's just a reflection. Not a big deal. We're gonna go in and make it watery anyway. Actually, let's go ahead and do that now. So I actually did clean the script liner off in paint thinner because the smaller brushes dry really quickly. So you can do that. So I'm going to go ahead and take the big brush, doesn't matter, 2-inch or 1-inch. Just clean it off real good. And then I'm just going to go, so you can kind of see, this is where like the reflections start happening. So that's kind of like where your water line is. So just very, very lightly, 5 hairs and some air. Just kind of glide your brush down a little bit. Just a little bit. And then wipe it off. And then we're going to go back in, we're going to go sidewards. Another one of my favorite Bobisms. So wipe it off real good, and then 2 hairs and some air. 2 hairs, maybe 1 hair. as gentle as you can. So that's just making it look nice and watery. That is all. I still want it to be pretty much horizontal. All right, that's good there. Well, let's put a couple highlights on these guys back here. They're needing some highlights. Now, since they're a little further away, their highlights don't need to be really strong. So you can just take your 1-inch brush again, just using the corner of it. So holding it vertical and just using the corner. So I'm just gonna tap a little bit of yellow ochre. So you want to tap like that. So see how I'm tapping and you get that little spongy texture? That's what you want. That's what you want to see. Tap, tap, tap. And I'm gonna go in and just see, now that's not coming off. Well, it's not bright enough, not contrasty enough. So I'm gonna add some yellow ochre. Now you can kind of see here, and you'll definitely see when you're playing with it, especially if you're using the Bob Ross paint, the yellow ochre is very creamy. That's on purpose, because the creamier paints are going to stick to the thicker, drier paints. That's what Bob means really when he's saying a thinner paint sticks to a thicker paint. He means the consistency. He means a creamier paint, like a yellow or white, is going to stick to a thicker paint, like the darker colors are thicker, and you'll notice when you're working with them that like the thicker, darker ones are harder to spread and everything like that. So I'm gonna go back in here. See, it should come off with just a very light touch like that. So I'm just gonna touch a little bit on the reflection too. Just a little bit will do. I'm gonna go into some Indian yellow, just change the flavor a bit. And again, these are in the distance, so you don't want these highlights to be super out there. Just really light highlights. Now the highlights on this one, yeah, you can make those stick out more. So in fact, I'll do that now. Let's get a little more yellow ochre. Same thing. So when I'm highlighting a cluster of leaves, I'm kind of tapping like in a circle, so almost like rock around the clock, like 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 11 o'clock, don't forget 11 o'clock. And a little down here for the reflections. And then I'm going to go into my yellow. There we go. There we go. And you have to load frequently with these two. So with the highlights, you want a lot of paint. If it's not coming off easily, add some liquid white. So I'm just using cad yellow and yellow ochre for this. Okay. Stand back a little bit and see if that's bright enough. I think that's pretty good because that tree is still not, it's not super close to us. So I am going to borrow some of this red though, because I want to make an orange. That's good. Looks like ketchup and mustard. Reminds me of the golden arches. All right. I'm gonna wipe off my 1-inch brush because it's getting kind of gunky and kind of loaded. So let's wipe off some of that there. Before I go for the orange, I think I'll go a little couple of these with a little red highlight. Let's see. One of my favorite things about fall paintings is highlighting with all the pretty colors. Red is kind of interesting to highlight with because if you do add liquid white, well, guess what? You know how you got pink. There we go. And reflect that down here. There. Pretty good. And then let's see, I got like one more over here. Just gonna wipe off that. And let's go back to the I used all the yellows. I used them all. Okay. Oh, this guy I didn't. That orange is so pretty. All right, I think I'm good with that back row there. Just gonna wipe this off. Wipe off a little more. Yep, now it definitely looks like I've been eating burgers. Yep. That's okay. That's not a bad look. So I'm going to pull down reflections for this too, but when you're pulling down the reflections for highlights, you have to be even lighter. Even lighter. Because, whew, yeah, you will very easily just blend those highlights right out. Kind of starting with the yellow ones and going back in with the red. See, just again, like with like 2 hairs and some air, it just, whoo. Actually, I'm going to go back to the 2-inch brush going across. So we're going to hold it up and down like that. So same thing. Just very, very gently. If you do happen to blend them out, you can always just tap them back in. It's not a biggie. Okay, that is good. All right, so the only thing we have to do left for this section, and then we'll put in some foreground stuff over here. We're going to put a little bit of ground. So I'm going to take my 1-inch brush and I'm going to tap it into, oh, let's see, let's do that VanDyke brown and Sienna that we had earlier. Maybe a little bit of that bright red and blue as well. You just tap it like that, brush mix it. So you get all the colors in there. So I'm going to hold it horizontally and we're going to tap in like that. So we're going to start, it's going to be really skinny over here because this is furthest from us. So, and we're just using just the edge, just the very edge. So you see again, I got the handle pointed towards the ground, so we're using just the edge. So not using the full brush. Hardly ever use the full brush. And so it's going to get thicker and wider as it gets closer to us. And we're going to use more of the brush then as well. Okay, let's see where we are. That's pretty good there. Okay, now just gonna wipe off the brush there. So I'm gonna put in a little mud bank. So we already have the dark there, so now we can just glaze over with well, I'm gonna use the same, like kind of like the same color we use for the mountain highlight. So white with just like a little bit of brown mixed in. I'm gonna use the small knife again. So let's grab, yeah, get some white, a little bit of that brown, just mix that. Maybe a little darker. Let's keep it nice and marbledy. A little darker. Okay, that's good. So again, you're gonna hold your knife perpendicular, cut off a little roll of paint, this time like angel hair pasta. And so it's kind of the same technique as putting the snow on the mountain. We're just gonna like smooth it on, but see how like it's kind of angled this way. So we're gonna angle it down towards the water. So it's like the mud banks are pointing towards the water. So I'm gonna grab it and drag it like that. And of course it gets thinner down there. Grab a little more. And if it's not light enough, you can put more white in, or if it's too light, you can go in and put more brown. Just depends, because you know your paint's gonna look different than mine. Mine's different from Bob's, yeah, and that's good. One more over here. So since this is a little closer to us, this part's going to be a little thicker. And you can be a little messy with the top because we're gonna go back in and put grass on there. So don't worry about that. Just make it look either rocky or snowy. Same as the mountain technique. See, I just going back in with like a little more of the white, just in a couple areas, just to kind of break up the monotony. And again, the more you do it, the more it'll go away. So watch out for that too. Okay. Sometimes that's good. If you don't like something, then just swipe over it and then it's gone. Okay. A little more that white over here. See, it's like the paint is grabbing onto itself. Paint is grabbing onto the paint, and it's making these cool effects. Neat. All right. Let's smooth that one out just a little bit. There. Okay. I know you can fiddle it. You can fiddle with it for days. Well, not for days, because it'll dry. So to finish off that, before I put my grass in, well, first I'm just gonna take the brush and pull down reflections there. So the little overage you got from your putting in your base coat, and just drag that down a little bit. That's good. Clean that up. And then for a waterline, so for the waterline you want to use the liquid white. So that's the one that's in the cup. Remember the one that we put aside because we weren't going to use it for a while. So I have a little bit on the palette here, and it's actually got some color mixed into it, which is good. I don't want it to be like stark white. Now, when I load the knife for this, I just want it just on the very edge of the knife. So I come from the bottom, kind of push. So see how I'm pushing it and it creates that ridge. That's what you want to see, because then you're loading just the edge of the knife there. All right, now you're going to hold it horizontally like that, and you're going to act like you're sawing. So I'm going to start from the back here and kind of saw my way down, but keeping it level, keeping it horizontal. So here we go. So as you're sawing, you're kind of squeezing the paint out. So it makes this really cool effect. This is a really cool effect on seascapes too, if you're putting a little like shoreline. And if there's any parts that are too thick, you can always go back and resaw them. Some thick parts there, so I just blended that in. The rest of the muddy bank there. Here you go. So it looks like a nice little cliffy, muddy bank. I'm just gonna clean off my knife there. And again, I just want to put a little bit of highlight for the grass there. So for that, I want to have like a little touch of green. So let's do, let's do, this green has a little bit of red in it. And let's add some yellow ochre. There we go. Yellow ochre and green gives a good, like, kind of dying grass kind of look. Perfect for fall. There we go. I'll leave some spots more green and some spots more ochre. Give us some variety there. Just gonna wipe off that knife there. I'm gonna go back in with the 1-inch brush. Now this time, because it is like a little darker color, the green and ochre are a little thicker, so I'm gonna add some liquid white to it to make it stick better to that base color that we have on there. So I'm just wiping off my 1-inch brush. And let's see, I have a little bit of liquid white on here, so I'm just gonna tap my brush into the liquid white. Should be enough. And I'm just gonna tap into here. I'm actually going to, there we go. See, we got more ochre than green, that's fine. So again, you want it to be nice and evenly distributed there. And just like when we put the base in, I'm gonna use just the edge, the bottom edge of the brush there. And if it doesn't come off easily, don't push harder, because then you'll just be mixing mud. If it doesn't come off easily, put a little more liquid white. I'll get another corner of liquid white in there. Tap some more in. There we go. I think I want a little more green. So as I'm putting this grass in, I'm kind of putting it in striations or in like lines. See, I flip my brush there to get more color. So as you're doing that, you're gonna lose paint from your brush and it'll just naturally blend in there. But see how I'm kind of like doing it in lines and leaving little dark areas there. Keep your dark areas. This is when Bob says you're creating the lay of the land. Pay attention to the lay of the land. And you can have some of that grass go over your muddy banks too. Just kind of blend it together. Okay, that's good. I like it. Okay, but you see how some spots are brighter than others, so that's just natural. You don't want to overblend because then you won't get the variation there. So I'm going to wipe off my brush again here. And then we got to decide what we're going to do with our foreground here. So definitely going to put a big old tree. Now, do we want deciduous tree? Do you want evergreen tree? Sometimes that's the hardest part. That's the hardest part. I think I kind of like the look of the brown evergreen trees. I kind of did it on, yeah, that one over there. So I think I'm going to do that. Okay. Stand back. Always good to stand back and see it all together here. All right, so yeah, evergreen trees here. Yeah, we haven't used our fan brush yet. So let's do that. So let's see, we're gonna need a whole bunch of dark brown. So you can either, up to you, you can use that Christmas brown, you can use VanDyke brown or mix it with a little bit of Sienna. You can, the red and blue and brown is not super dark. I wouldn't use that. You'd use something a little darker. I think I'm gonna use, yeah, I think I'm gonna do the VanDyke brown, maybe just mix the rest of that red in there, just so it kind of has like that red undertone. I think that'll be good. That's good. And then we'll like highlight it with like maybe ochre. That's good. Okay. So for your evergreens, just gonna wipe off my knife there. Take your brush, you're gonna wiggle it, and drag it both sides. And this kind of makes, well, it kind of sticks all the bristles together. and forms a wedge. So you get a nice chiseled edge there. So to start your evergreens, you want to hold it. You want to hold the brush vertically like that, and you want to tap in a little bit of a line. So we're gonna make them pretty tall. We're gonna go, now I'm just using the very top corner and I'm touching downwards. So we're gonna go pretty tall tree there. That's just to get it started. So I'm gonna go back in, reload. So for your evergreen trees, you want to start with very small branches towards the top. I usually leave like a little, maybe like an inch. And then you're going to start with just the corner of your brush, just the corner. And you're going to you're going to tilt your handle downwards so that your branches are hanging down like this. You're going to tilt it to the side like this, so you're just using just the corner and just touch. And just go back and forth with your branches there. I'm going to switch to the other side. And so as you're going down the tree, your branches are going to get thicker and longer. So you're going to use more of the brush there. Sometimes I like to start them out skimpy like this and then go back in and beef them up. And don't forget to go off the canvas there, because there's, you're just seeing a glimpse of this. There's more this way. Reload. You're going to reload frequently with this, so that's why you want to make a good pile of that color. You might have to go through some liquid white there. That's fine. Just smash it. So now we're towards the bottom. You want to think about our land and where it's going to start. But I love brown evergreen trees. They're so cool looking. I'm going to put in another tree, and then I'll kind of decide where I want my land there. So same thing, just load it up, and you're gonna tap in the start of it. So this one's gonna be a little further this way. He's gonna be like right there. And same thing. Let's go in, just start with just the corner of your brush. Just tiny branches just to start. You can always go back in and beef them up. The happy little trees are my favorite. That's always been my favorite part. I've been doing trees like this ever since middle school, when I first tried doing Bob Ross trees for an art assignment. We had to create a shopping bag for a store in the mall. So I created a shopping bag for a certain lotion store in the mall, yes. Okay, that's good. I like to have a little bit of that background shining through the trees, especially these brown trees. They're kind of like, kind of dead maybe, kind of dying. Okay, I think I like having the two there. I think that's pretty good. So I'm gonna switch over to, I'm gonna use the 2-inch brush just because it's bigger and faster. So I'm gonna go back into that same color, just smash it in there. Again, this is just the base, so it doesn't matter too much. I'm just kind of creating my land here. So I'm just gonna tap that in. So I'm gonna kind of adjust as I'm going, and I'm gonna make little bushes as I'm going.
So just like before with the bushes, like kind of start at the base and work upwards. Maybe a little bit of that Christmas brown just to make it nice and dark. There we go. Okay, I think that's pretty good. That's nice and dark there. Maybe make that one a little taller. A little taller bush there. There. I think that's good. But see how the top of the bush is a little lighter. Oh, now they're all taller. That's okay. They all grew. They all grew on me. There, something like that. I didn't think I was going to close that area up, but maybe I will. Maybe I will. That's good. You know what? Yeah, let's close it up. Let's close it up. Yeah, that's good. Maybe make that one a little taller. Oh, I know, they're growing again, they're growing again. They're out of control. They're out of control. Oh dear. Okay, I think that's pretty good. Okay, let us wipe off the brush here. Wipe off one more time. Okay. So I'm going to do the same thing I did before with these bushes here. I'm going to take the knife and I'm just going to scratch out a couple little sticks and twigs there. I think that's pretty good. And then I'm going to give these trees here a trunk. So for that, let's see here. I think I'm going to thicken this one up a little bit, just a little bit, because we're going to put highlights on them and give them a little more surface area for the highlights. Okay, that's good. I had some color left in my brush, so why not? I'm also going to go ahead and I'm going to clean this in the paint thinner, because that's a smaller brush, so that'll dry right away. So I'm just going to dry that on some paper towels here. All right, so before we put the highlights on, we're going to put those trunks in. I'm going to use the big knife for this, just because it's a little longer. And I'm just going to use that same color that we used for the little mud bank back there. And it's already flattened out for me, so I'm just going to just cut across. I got my little roll there. I'm going to do this one first. I'm just going to touch. You see how I'm kind of holding it at like a 45-degree angle there. Boop. And you don't want it like a solid line. You just want a nice like broken line like that, just an indication. Just an indication of a trunk being there. Because you wouldn't see the whole trunk anyway. You'd be seeing like all the branches in front, so you would just be seeing like a glimpse of the trunk here and there. All right, now we'll highlight those trees there. So let's have a little bit of ochre and then some Indian yellow. So I'm just gonna mix all that together. Just pile it up there. As you're tapping your highlights, you'll kind of spread the color out, which makes it harder to load. So every once in a while you have to, what does Bob say, do some housekeeping. And you'll have to scoop up the highlight color and re-plop it into a pile. Okay, so back to fan brush here, and I'm going to dip the fan brush into a little bit of the liquid white there. That should be enough. And I'm just going to tap it. So I'm tapping it to mix here. And now I'm tapping to load. So I'm kind of just going straight in like that. But see how I'm doing that, and you can kind of see the branches appearing there. So that's what you want to see. So you're going to do the same thing as you did as you were putting the base color in. You're gonna angle the handle towards the floor and then switch it to the side so that you're just using just the corner there. Flip the brush. Oop. Flip it over again. I'm going to have the colors on these trees like slightly different, so I'm going to make this one like a little more yellow. Flip it here. Oop. If you get too much, just tap it and blend it in. Or you can always go back in with the dark color and reapply the dark color. I do that all the time when I'm doing my evergreens. So since I already have this color on my brush, I'm just gonna take it and tap it into some cad yellow. And it just changes the flavor ever so slightly. You can highlight it with red, you can highlight it with orange, green, whatever you want. You can even put snow on it, highlight it with white. Again, same thing. If it's not coming off easily, then you just add some liquid white. Tap to reload. Okay, I like that there. Okay, so I'm gonna wipe that brush off. Hand's getting a little covered there. Grab a baby wipe. Okay. I'm actually gonna go back in with the dark and make a little, I think I'll make a little bush here maybe. Okay. Maybe just a small bush or two. So now, I'm going to go back in the 1-inch brush. I'm going to highlight these bushes back here. I'm going to start with yellow. I'm going to grab, I think this yellow already has liquid white in it. Not 100% sure, but let's try it. Or the yellow is already creamy enough for highlighting. Okay. Nice bright yellow one. Like, oh, right here. So again, rock around the clock. I'm going to go 12, 11, 1, so forth. Again, very light touch. Should come off with a very, very light touch. And I'm just going to knock that into some yellow ochre over here. Highlight that friend. Kind of like that color. Maybe I'll highlight over here too, or maybe here. There we go. Okay, then I'll wipe it off. Go into some orange. So again, I'm just tapping with just the bottom corner. Just the bottom corner. You have to do it in that motion too. You can't do it softly. You won't get that texture. So I have a nice little orange one here. Oh yeah. Like the orange. Another orange. Let's do another orange right here. I like the orange. And then, yeah, let's get our red, get the firecracker in there. Get that firecracker in there. Firecracker for Bob. And then maybe, yeah, another reddish one over here. Bob would usually put the red firecrackers towards the middle of the painting. Again, kind of like directing the viewer's eye towards the center of the painting. Just gonna make that a little brighter here. There we go. A little punchier. Cool. All right. So now we have this whole land section here. Now, I think what I'm going to do, because this is a lot of land, I think I'm going to make a little bit of a path. But before I put the path in, I'm going to put some grass in. And I'm just going to use that same green and ochre color that we did before. It's already got the liquid white in there, so it should be good. Okay. So again, just like before back here, except we're going to be kind of like angling it downwards because the ground is going that way now. So now I'll be angling it this way. Couple brighter spots there, but again, same kind of principle, putting like those lines in. Grab a little more green. Ooh, that was pretty. I think I want to touch some of that green over here too. That's real pretty. Yeah. that's nice. Dull that down just a tad. Okay, that's good there. Now I'm going to make a tiny little path. I'm going to use that same white and brown mix that I did for the trunks and the muddy bank there. So I'm going to use the knife again too. Well, I'll use the little knife. So I'm going to cut off a little roll of paint. And then kind of like when we put the water line in, kind of sawing, so you want to keep it like level, but you don't want to saw this time. We're just going to kind of like smooth it on back and forth. So now we're back to frosting cakes. So I'm just going to just work it back and forth like that, very gently. I'm going to go back over that one, make it a little smoother. You can do this number 2, turn your blade to the side and just kind of grab a little more of that. There we go. And again, if it gets too light, you can go back in with dark color and smooth the dark color back on. And you can make it as, the path as skinny or wide as you want. Or if you think you make it too wide, you can always close it back in with the grass that we're going to put on the other side. Oops. The canvas kind of caught me there. Kind of caught my knife. But then as you're doing this, you can kind of like reshape your path too. But the same idea as putting the water in. You want it to be skinnier out here and wider as it comes towards you. Okay. Just gonna smooth these edges a little bit. Maybe right here. Okay, I think that's pretty good, and then we'll put like a tiny bit of grass over there just to close it out, and then we'll be all set. It's the same thing. I'll just use that combo of green and ochre, something like that. And same thing, it's kind of climbing in the same direction. To see how it's kind of creeping onto the road there. Grab a little brighter yellow for there. Just put a couple highlights there. A little brighter right at the bottom here. There we go, got some grass coming in on the road. As Bob would say, it's an old road. It's been there forever, you know. No one's maintained it. Okay. Let's see. I kind of like that. Let me do that right here too. A little more yellowy grass there. Yeah, I'll put a couple more yellow highlights back here too. the grass a little deader. See, I keep going back and forth, changing my mind about the green and the yellow grass. Just a couple bright areas there. Okay. Again, same thing, the more you tap, the more you blend it out. So you can use that to your advantage. But I'm tapping very, very lightly. Okay. All right, I think that's gonna do it for today. Alrighty. Thank you so much for hanging out with me and painting with me today. I would love to see your version. If you decide to change up the colors, make it more springtime scene, or maybe like a winter scene, or a nighttime scene. Do on black canvas. Yeah, yes, that's my favorite. Alrighty, thank you so much again, and yeah, if you're liking this video, I have plenty of other tutorials. Just hit that like and subscribe button, and you'll be notified as soon as my new tutorials come out. All right, I'll see you later. Bye bye.